Hey, what's up? So today we're going to be doing something a little bit different and looking at every gun as it was released in Fortnite. Starting with the old OG weapons as they were at their time, it's kind of nostalgic, and then flowing through the entire evolution of the game from a gun perspective. I think this is going to be a really cool video because it's going to give you a nostalgic feel of the old game, but also take you through the history and show you the evolution of things. So if you guys could please leave a like, let's go for 20K on this one. I very rarely ask for that. Yeah. Also feel free to subscribe to the channel and let's do this. All right, so to start this video off, we got to reverse all the way back to September 12th, 2017. This was the release date of Early Access Fortnite, and first off, we got to look at the starting game and what guns we had. And there were 12 guns in the game at the time, so let's go through them. The first weapon that we have on the list is the just basic M16, or automatic assault rifle. This is the most consistent gun that has ever existed in Fortnite. It's been a pretty good gun, but more importantly, it's been reliable. It's hardly had any changes to it whatsoever. It's been 30, 31, and 33 for a blue one. It's just like Old Faithful and a classic. At this time, we also had the burst assault rifle, and then last but not least in the assault rifle section is the SCAR. Now, the gold SCAR has seen some changes. It used to do 39 damage a shot and 98 for a headshot. It was a 2.5 multiplier, which was just absolutely devastating at a time where having full shield wasn't as common as it used to be before they took it out, unless they put it back in. I don't know what's happening with Fortnite. Sorry, I did not like the Wednesday update. But anyways, the SCAR was ridiculous. And then we also had everybody's favorite, the bolt action, which it's weird to remember that this actually had a gold variant as well. The semi-auto pistol is another gun that's been in the game since launch. The blue version was taken out and it's had a few slight changes, but it's pretty much also stayed super consistent. And this is a weapon that I'm actually surprised has stayed in since the beginning. And I guess that really is just because it's like an OG weapon. But then the other sniper that we have is the revolver, which is a weapon that I think a lot of people do miss. It was removed in early September of 2018. And while it wasn't the best of weapons, there is a lot of nostalgia I think people have for this gun. We also had the original SMG, which is infamously one of the worst guns to ever be introduced into the game. And also the grenade launcher and RPG, which really haven't changed much. And then last but not least, of course, we have shotguns. I feel like the pump has changed a million times, but the biggest difference is that it used to be in gray and green variances, and now it's obviously green and blue. And then we have the same thing, but in opposite order for the tactical shotgun. RIP Purple Tack. The Purple Tack was an old classic, and despite it just being a rarity change, it is still sad to see that this got removed. Also, the Purple Tack originally, I think, could do 200 damage to the head with a perfect shot. And anyways, that wraps up launch. And the only weapons that have stayed relatively true to themselves are the automatic assault rifles, the common pistol, and explosives. The rest of this, it seems, has either been removed or heavily changed. Now, moving on to September 26th, we have the first ever gun update. September 26th was the release of Fortnite to the public, and it saw the addition of the scoped assault rifle. Originally, it had a very weird scope, but other than that, it really was pretty much just the same weapon. We also saw the addition of one of everybody's favorites, the tactical SMG. At the time, it wasn't very good, but it would go on to get much better. And then last but not least, a gun I feel like I've talked about a million times, the Zapatron. And if you haven't already heard me say this, it was in the game for about 8 hours, sniper, 150 damage, and then it got removed because it didn't fit the vibe of Battle Royale. So this was basically the core of Fortnite weapons. Now, an actual new weapon wasn't added until November 20th, but on October 26th, we did see a pretty big change to one weapon. This was the pumpkin launcher. The pumpkin launcher worked the same as an RPG, but it now had the ability to be ridden, and then we saw the rise of the classic, the infamous rocket ride. Wah! I have to say that every time I ever talk about the pumpkin launcher. Anyways, moving on to November 20th, we had the first, what I would say, weapon update of the game. That September 26th update really just felt like they were finishing the game at that point of their initial build. But this was the one where it was like, oh, okay, Fortnite's gonna be like updating this game with guns. That's pretty cool. At the time, I didn't think it was going to be so quick and readily, but this is really what I would say marks where we just started seeing update after update after update. And again, the suppressed SMG kind of shared the same mechanics of the other SMGs, just not being very good. Now on November 29th, there was no new weapon added in, but we did see the addition of smoke grenades. The only reason that I'm throwing this in is there was a pretty big gap between the next weapon update, and I feel like this kind of gives you an idea, just showing you that Epic Games was starting to work on their stuff and really, you know, be a consistent game updater, people, developer. Those are not words. Basically, it was showing us that they were really going to be consistently updating the game. Then on December 19th, we saw the huge addition of the multi-surface trap. So it used to be that you could only put the trap on the floor, and then they basically changed it to the trap we know today. And that marks every weapon that was introduced into Fortnite in 2017. A pretty basic build, but if you look at the weapon loadout of today's Fortnite, there is a lot that has changed. Now on January 2nd of 2018, Epic Games introduced their second silenced weapon, which was the silenced pistol. And surprisingly enough, this is a gun that has never been vaulted or completely removed from the game. So that's interesting to me. It's not the most loved weapon, but apparently Epic does really vouch for it. And then at the very end of the month on January 31st, we saw the addition of the minigun. And as you can see, this was another pretty big gap between weapons. But then right after that, on February 8th, we saw the addition of the really garbage, but like cool crossbow. It was another gun. It was like, wow, okay, this, like they just added a new gun. It felt like they were starting to pick things up at this point. Then on February 13th, they added not necessarily a gun, but impulse grenades, which really can be used as a weapon. And then on February 2nd came Season 3 with the addition of the hand cannon. Also important to note that this is when the double pump technique got patched. And then again, it just felt like week after week after week, we were getting something new. February 28th comes along and we get the hunting rifle. At first, I really didn't like this weapon, and there's a video of me just completely tearing it up. I was like, why would you ever use this? It's just something you're not going to use very often. But clearly, the hunting rifle has been a very loved weapon, and I'm a fan of it too. On March 15th, we saw the addition of the C4. The C4 was pretty much garbage until it got its huge patch where it was devastating against structures, but until then, it was not good. It seemed like Epic intended this to be like, oh, throw it on a chest and wait for the enemy to go get it, but I mean, people aren't that dumb. There's a lot of bad defaults out there, but they're smarter than you think. On March 22nd, we saw the addition of the heavy shotgun, the first ever gold variant of a shotgun added into the game. And then on March 28th, we saw the guided missile. This was really the first outrage weapon, I would say. I mean, we had issues in the past with some guns, but this was the big one where people were like, this is just ridiculous. And obviously the guided missile would go on to get majorly patched. So that was a really long strand of additions to the game. It just felt like every week we were getting something. They slowed down a little bit, but not really, adding the LMG on April 18th. And then a week later on April 24th, they added in clingers. Now, we actually didn't see any guns here for a little bit, but it is important to note that on May 8th, we saw the iconic LTM, which I talked about in the last video, the Infinity Gauntlet mode. Not a gun in and of itself, but Thanos is definitely an important weapon worth mentioning. On May 15th, the epic and legendary versions of the Burst Assault Rifle was added into the game, or the FAMAS. And then, Epic took a break. We didn't see a new weapon added into the game until June 12th, and this was the Thermal Scoped Assault Rifle. But then they picked back up again, and I think this little break was kind of getting ready for Season 4. Season 5? Yeah, Season 5, not Season 4. We were in Season 4 at this point. Yeah. So on June 19th, Epic released Stink Bombs, and then June 27th, they released the dual-wield pistols. And then only 7 days later, on July 3rd, Epic released the iconic, the notorious drum gun. It was very broken. I mean, even when it got patched, that very nerfed version of it was broken, but man, was it ever broken when it got introduced. Now, Season 5 rolled around on July 12th, and on July 18th, we saw the addition of the new SMG. Like just the basic gray, green, and blue SMG that got replaced with the suppressed recently. And then again, 6 days later, we saw the addition of the compact SMG. This was like the peak of the SMG meta because the compact originally had 50 as well as the drum gun having 50. So it was just like spam, spam, spam. SMGs are ridiculously OP. Yeah, the community was really, really upset at this point with Epic Games. Now then, Epic Games took a whole long break of 14 days, and on August 7th, added in the double barrel shotgun. And then 8 days later on August 15th, they introduced the heavy sniper. From June to August, they were just snapping on new weapons. It was ridiculous. And as summer winded down, they then took some time to kind of take a break, and up until September 11th, nothing had been introduced. On the 11th of September, they added in the suppressed assault rifle, or silenced scar. And then actually they took a whole nother month. On October 10th, Epic added in the quad launcher. Then on October 24th, coinciding with the Fortnite event, we saw the 6-shooter added in. It's really crazy because people sure did hate the 6-shooter. Yeah, and it's interesting, like, looking at this. Like, the summer was crazy. You can kind of see they started slowing down on the release of weapons. Then 2 weeks later, on November 6th, they added in the heavy assault rifle. And then November 27th, we saw a very notable gun, the gold pump, added into the game. Feels like the gold pump has been around for a while, but it's actually only been, like, 4 months? The super interesting point to note here is from January 27th, a new weapon wouldn't be added in until January 8th. Now on December 11th, the day after the release of Season 7, the Infinity Blade was added into Fortnite, but with that being said, I mean, can we really count that? It got removed pretty quickly, so it wasn't really a long-term gun in the game, but it obviously was quite game-changing. I mean, you also had things like the Stormwing added in, which I guess is technically a weapon, but no real guns were added in, again, till January 8th. And on January 8th, we saw the addition of the Silent Sniper, which would then quickly follow the removal of the Bolt Sniper. And then a week later, on January 15th, they added in the Scoped Revolver, which I can't believe is still in the game. On February 14th, they added in the infantry rifle, and then March 20th, just recently, they added in the flintlock pistol. And that's it. Now, it's really interesting to go through this because you see this, like, kind of build-up of they start adding a lot of weapons, and I feel like we're at a point now where we really haven't seen a lot of guns added into the game, and more importantly, we haven't seen a lot of good guns. While not finished, they've certainly exhausted their list of weapon ideas, and I think that is really showing. It does make sense that they went so hard for the summer, but it makes me a little bit nervous of where they're going to go from here. And so yeah, let's just recap. We started with the automatic assault rifle, burst assault rifle, SCAR, pump shotgun, tactical shotgun, bolt, semi-auto sniper, semi-auto pistol, revolver, blue SMG, grenade launcher, and RPG. And today the only things remaining are the M16, SCAR, RPG, grenade launcher, and pistol. That's it. And now the last thing that I'm just going to say before we end this video is I am doing a giveaway for a mystery box edition of Black Ops 4. If you guys are interested in that, follow the top link in the description, which will actually give you 2 options. You can enter by following on Twitter or visiting my new podcast channel, which I'm going to be starting in April. And alternatively, if you're just interested in the podcast coming back or you want to check out what it's going to be like, just follow the second link in the description and go subscribe. You do have to be subscribed to the channel to win the giveaway, so if you're interested and you're not subscribed, maybe you should do that. Other than that is our video for today. Let me know what you guys thought of this one. It was a bit of work just to do the whole history of everything, but I had a lot of fun making this. I like doing these deep dives on the history. So yeah, that's it. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.